Hi, Michal is here. Welcome to the eCom Power Summit. And in this session, we have Max Sinclair. He's the founder of eCom and he have one of the most interesting topics that you guys really want to stay here and listen. So, Max, can you tell us a little bit about your topic and about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Max. I think it's on my first slide actually, but I'll do it now. I'm Max. I'm the co-founder and CEO of eCom. eCom helps sellers to create product listings with generative AI, and it's this kind of hot generative AI topic that I'm going to be talking about. So yeah, going to be talking about what specifically it is, kind of in some technical detail, and then also how you can use it to kind of optimize yourself in Q4. But yeah, a bit about me. So you can see on the screen there, I spent 6 years at Amazon prior to founding eCom. I left the business as a head of the EU 3P grocery team. I launched Amazon Singapore. I was in charge of the catalog quality there, so all the browse nodes and this kind of stuff, which was great fun. And yeah, we've been working on eCom since September 2022, so it's just over a year old. Well, as the people are watching, and yeah, like when I started eCom, we were at what I think was really the beginning of the generative AI revolution. And when I say this, we started before ChatGPT was launched. We started 2 weeks after the first open source generative AI model was launched. We started the business, and I'll get into a bit about what exactly a generative AI model is. But I think fast forward a year on, the adoption of this has actually been at a frightening pace, right? Like it's pretty much here and everywhere now. Is no longer something which we, as I was thinking a year ago, like, oh, what's going to happen and how is this going to impact e-commerce? Like it's already impacting e-commerce across the board. Amazon are doing it in customer reviews, in Alibaba are doing it in understanding images. I was watching Amazon Accelerate virtually, and I saw that Amazon are also going to start this technology as well of kind of like taking uploading a product box and like taking off the listing details from the box with Gen AI. It's on eBay. I know we're talking about Walmart here. Like I don't know specifically about Walmart, but I'm sure these guys must be planning something.
They're very advanced. They're extremely advanced as well. Yeah.
And I mean, it's also like crazily in LinkedIn, so you can have an AI powered, job description, which I find kind of
in LinkedIn. What can you do? That's interesting. I didn't know about that.
I haven't used it.
Yeah,
but
it's too much, too fast.
Yeah, exactly. But it's pretty much everywhere. And like in the week that we record this, like there's again just been a huge wave of really consequential updates. Microsoft have just launched Copilot, which is gonna change how we all use how we all interact on our desktops and work every day. I'm sure of that. Amazon have just acquired a minority stake in Anthropic, who are a big base model company. What else? ChatGPT, OpenAI just released like multi-modular ChatGPT with voice, with text, with speech. So it's just going at such a crazy rate now that I think we can say the revolution is here. And another thing to note is that if you're not using it, your competition almost certainly are. You can see kind of the top countries which are which are employing this kind of technology, and it's very useful in, let's say, non-domestic marketplaces, well, for non-domestic sellers selling in the US and Europe, etc. Because these language and imagery kind of barriers that once was a moat for sellers is disappearing with this technology. So yeah, what is it? What exactly are we talking about? And firstly, we've had AI around for ages, right? Like the first wave of AI was in the 1950s. We have it in all of our phones, in Google Maps, in in all sorts of applications. And basically, traditional like deterministic AI, as we call it, was used for like data classifications and regressions. You take a lot of data, the AI can crunch lots of data, and it will give you an output. So like if this cell is cancerous or not, or what's the best route to get from A to B, these kind of decisions. Generative AI is something kind of entirely different, and I'll explain it in more detail. But basically, the high-level view is it's used for content generation. So you train it on base data, and it generates net new content. This is text, image, music, video, speech now, since I made this presentation about 2 weeks ago. It's less accurate, and we'll explain exactly why it's less accurate, but it's able to be kind of infinitely new creative, and suddenly you can create as much content as you want, which is kind of a step change in what kind of AI is used for. So the kind of key takeaway, though, that one of the key takeaways I want people to have is that we're not dealing with something which is magic, right? We're dealing with something which is basically an extremely large prediction model. And I'm just going to spend maybe 5 minutes of this breaking down exactly what it is. I feel people are better equipped to understand it, and then we'll talk about how you can use it. But as I was saying, the AI is actually a bad word for it, artificial intelligence, because as I'll argue here, like these things aren't intelligent. And a computer actually only understands numbers. So it doesn't understand words or kind of images or anything like this. All it takes are numbers, and it kind of translates words and pixels into these numbers. So if you think about a language model like ChatGPT, you could rank every single word in the English dictionary from like ace #1, amazing #2, and all the way down to 3,700 or whatever it is, and that's xylophone. You could rank all of them from 1 to 2,700 in order, and then basically the job of the model is to look at the numbers and use the best information it has to predict the next number. So in this example, right, in this sentence, hello, New Jersey, you take hello, which is ranked number 250th, and then instead of having the sentence, you've actually got three numbers, right, which is 250, 1,000, and 750, representing each part of the sentence. And then for every token you have, the AI basically just predicts the next most likely token or word. So at the start of that sentence, with the word hello, the AI will know from all the training data of the internet that it's maybe the most likely next word is how, because it's been trained on all of the internet. It's kind of like compressed all of that information, and it knows that you have the number 250, and the next word after that is maybe 240 or whatever how is, right? And it knows that actually it can pretty quickly see that something like a sentence like hello New Jersey is not actually something which is very predictable, because it's quite a strange kind of phrase. Maybe it's like 1% likely. But as you start to add in more and more context, so once you've given the AI hello new, then it's kind of changes the mathematics of the whole thing. So rather than the third most likely word being are, like hello, how are you, which is probably the most likely thing there, suddenly it's understood the context of the two words, and it's suddenly kind of reshifted all of this. So that being said, basically these things are not magical. They don't understand anything in particular, but really they're just crunching a whole load of numbers. They're ranking them to what's the most likely next one, and they're just spitting that out. And the more basically context you have, the better it's going to be at doing that. I hope that makes sense. I'll go on to the next slide if that's clear. So I think in the previous slide we discussed that these AIs, they're just prediction models. They're predicting the next most likely word. I think the immediate question you may have from thinking this is, okay, so how come when I give the same prompt I get a different answer, right? Like if you ever use ChatGPT or anything like this, you're giving a prompt. Each time you give a prompt, you get a completely different answer. surely if it's doing the most likely next word, it's always going to give the same answer, right? Because it's always going to be the same most likely sequence of numbers or tokens. And the answer to this is, and this is where the creativity element of AI comes from, is this variation. So you can, in all models such as, eComtent, ChatGPT, Bing, you basically can control the temperature. And what this does in kind of, for the AI is it says, rather than predicting the most likely next word, predict the next likely next word in the top 10% of most likely next words. So just take a random one out of that 10% or 5% or probably 0.01% in reality. So what's happening is you're getting this kind of random variation amongst the top most likely next tokens. So for images, for example, which is kind of what part of what we do at eComtent, you're giving it some input pixels, and it's kind of building some like random variation around those pixels, all of them still likely. So the output image normally, hopefully on average, looks like a photograph, but every single one of them is slightly different because of these temperature ranges that we give it. So then we've touched upon kind of how these are prediction models, how you put in the creativity to these models. And the last piece of this is the quality aspect. So, like, why are these models any good? And like I'll explain it from an e-content side, and actually the base tech is the same for basically every business. You have these base models like Chat, OpenAI, Anthropic, we mentioned, Stable Diffusion. And then what we do at a company like eComtent is you're fine-tuning it with extra data, such as images that we purchased, highly converting Amazon text, and you're shifting the AI to reproduce things more like that fine-tuned layer. It still has all the capabilities of the base model, which is good at crunching lots of numbers and predicting the next word, but it's shifting how it does those predictions aligned with the fine-tuning data. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're taking these base models, we're fine-tuning them with like high quality lifestyle images, well-written Amazon listings, and in the end you're getting a model which is great at producing Amazon listings or great at producing lifestyle images, compared to like a Midjourney or something like this, which is good at producing all sorts of images but doesn't have any fine-tuning on top of it. So that's kind of a brief explanation of what's happened and what's happening. I guess the last note before we get on to kind of the more practical element is just this size comparison, which I think is important, because when you're computing 170,000 words in the English dictionary and working out what the most likely combination is for each one of those, you're suddenly getting an incredible amount of data that you need to synthesize. And that's what's happened in the last a few years. We've gone from 100 million parameters, so 100 million possibilities, to 100 trillion from the first GPT to GPT-4. So suddenly these models have become really, really good at getting a load of base data, understanding the likelihood of the next pixel in an image or the next word or the next token, and giving a good output. So that's about 10 minutes about AI. Mika, I don't know if you want to ask anything. If not, I'll go on to my next part of my presentation on the prompting side. I can't hear you. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. I think you're doing great. So
okay. Prompting then. So what the background into prompting is that, and I think the key thing to remember is that the AI doesn't understand the text you're giving it and like turning it into code and then creating some kind of like task. We don't have that level of intelligence yet. What's happening is the AI is taking your prompt, is looking at the labeling and the training data, and it's giving an output based on that prompt. So it's kind of synthesizing, it's seen how questions and answers work on the internet, and therefore if you give it a question like in ChatGPT, like where should I go for a restaurant in Paris, it's going to give you an answer similar to how it's been trained on, because it understands that in that sequence of numbers, this is the sequence of numbers that should come out. Exactly how the AI does this and like how this information is synthesized is still like a black box to the top researchers around the world, right? We don't really understand like the dots that AI is connecting. It's like in the models, but we do understand, we do train it and we give it a prompt and outcomes and output. So something that we've done at eComtent, and I'm super excited to share this, is we've done a data labeling exercise. And what we've done is I've got 11 students from Toronto University in computer science, and we basically label up all of our tens of thousands of prompts and outputs from our customers. So we take in the, we take what the customer wrote. So for example, this is a real customer and a real prompt, a very high quality and modern crowded restaurant, a very pretty happy waitress, blonde spelt wrong is next to it, at, realistic, high quality, real. So some customer wrote this in, and we score them from 1 to 10 on accuracy and quality. So on accuracy, like how much of that prompt is in the output image, and we gave this a 6 out of 10 because you could argue this is not a high quality image. The restaurant isn't crowded, but the woman is blonde and is the waitress. So that's kind of an accuracy out of 6. And then on the quality side, basically anything below a 5, we don't think is usable. Is a usable image, and this one doesn't qualify as a usable image. It's too weird, right? So we have those two scales that we've labeled up tens of thousands of prompt from. And here's another prompt, which is obviously on the better side, right? Portrait of a beautiful woman wearing pendant on a silver necklace, studio lighting, high quality HDR. And this one, is 10 out of 10 for accuracy. Everything that we put in there is accurate, and 9 out of 10 for quality. This is like a photorealistic image that you could, the customer could use, and hopefully they have used. And just the context at eComtent, we're placing customers' products in the image. So for example, this pendant would be a customer's thing, and this bag here would be a customer's other product. So we've here's two more examples, right? So this is a bad example, right? This is an example of a customer not understanding the AI, thinking it's talking to a human, which they're not, and it's saying, and the customer said, forget all the other images. The AI is then kind of completely confused because like forget all other images doesn't correspond to any images in its training data. And you see this very kind of long text, and in the output is like, you no idea what this is, right? And then another one, this is actually one of mine. You have kind of that I did live on a podcast actually. So this is on some podcast somewhere that I did live, but 85 millimeter photograph of a dachshund. You can see it there sitting next to the packet of dog food, which is the product. You can see it, you can see it there, and it looks kind of photorealistic. So we've done this exercise. It's taken as I said, we have 11 students working on it. And the purpose of doing this is to try and work out how we should prompt AI to create good images. So I will share a number of tips. The first tip we have is the structure of the prompt. So as I say here, prompt should consist of 3 key elements: the subject, what are you doing? Is it a dog food? Is it a pendant? What is the subject of what is your product subject, basically, a generic version of it. Like, how is it interacting with the scenario? So is it on a woman? Is it on, on the ground next to a dog? Or like, is it, or some, some description of where it is? Like, is it on a rock in a mount, with mountains behind? And then you have the descriptors at the end. So you kind of would say, high quality, or like mountains, or restaurant, or like whatever the description of that image is coming at the end. So to go into a little bit more detail about this, like the subject, in this case would be a chair. You can see you just would write chair, right? You don't need to describe your brand because the AI is not going to know what your brand is. You don't need to say, please do this or whatever. You just put in like a very generic name of your subject. Then we have the scenario or location. So like on a neck of a beautiful woman, or on a table, or whatever that would be. And then finally in the end you have the descriptors. So blur, like HD, 8K, these kind of things, like office setting, will come at the end of the prompt. So that's kind of the key structure that we found has worked best, from analyzing all of the data that we have. Next number 1 tip is experiment. And this is this is real customer data, how much we ranked each customer of ours in terms of the quality, the average quality of their output, and how many prompts they did on a monthly basis. And like there's a clear trend, probably not surprising, that the more you prompt, the higher output you have. And we've removed the numbers on here, kind of on the base for IP reasons and the rest of it. But basically, like if you're doing more prompts, if you're trying one or two prompt, like wow, you could get it in 1, but realistically also you could get a 3 output, like you could just be complete rubbish. And then like the more you try and iterate and change it, the better it's going to be. Tip number 3 is don't be polite to AI. And this is probably the clearest thing we saw in our data, was that if you would say please do this, or hi, like the customer did here, generate an image, blah blah blah, like you try to talk to the AI and be polite to it, you're doing 2 things. You're increasing your word count. So basically the polite, as we called it, or like instructional prompts, were twice as long as the non ones, and you're decreasing accuracy and quality. So that's a really key thing to take away. Like, don't be polite to these AI models. They're not human. They don't understand anything. They're just trying to match the prompt to their training data and give you an output. And like more stuff is confusing. This is an interesting one, and these are 2 generated in our tool. Like and this is true of all AI models, and I don't know how long this will be true. So like timestamp this as being at the end of September. But at the moment, for whatever reason, AI is much better doing close-ups of people than it is of bodies and limbs and the rest of it. So the one on the left, I generate, and one of the key metrics we look at e-content is like how many image generated does it take for a customer to get something which is like a 7 out of 10 or more in terms of quality. Like you put in a prompt like close-up photo of a woman on a mountain, you're like basically you're going to get a high quality image 9 times out of 10 if you do that. If you do full body shot of a woman on a mountain, like left, you're probably going to need like 5, 6, 7 goes to get something which is good, which is quite an interesting distinction, but like very important to think about as you're making product images. And yeah, the last one, yes, is to check your grammar and your spelling. So if you're making a spelling mistake or a grammatical error in your prompt, like you're going to make it even harder for the AI to understand what you're doing. And we really saw this in our data, like stuff spelled wrong. There's some examples of it on the earlier slides. Like it doesn't help the AI, right? It's not magical. It's gonna, like if you have a misspelling, it's not going to be able to match it as well. So yes, here we go. We have our five prompts here. If you want to take like a photo, a screenshot, we have the structure. The experiment, not to be polite. If you're trying to put a human in there, use a close-up because hands, limbs, everything else work worse. As you can see, like this image I got from Midjourney, like the hand is pretty weird. And be accurate in the grammar and the spelling. Okay, so that's yes.
So yeah, I have a question about how to use the right prompt. So when you ask to create images, like, first of all, it's really blowing my mind that you can use AI to have like a lifestyle image kind of created for you. So what would be like your recommendation for things that are a little bit more complex? Like, how complex can you ask an image to be? Like, how many details? Or do you want to stay with like just one or two details for an image, just like the background, or if there's a man or a woman, or can you even go like really complex?
So we looked at kind of word length and length of the prompt, sorry, and like the quality and what that tracked to. And basically we found that, you kind of don't want to have more than 10 words, 10, 15 words in there. I think too many concepts at the moment anyway can be confusing for the AI, and like it's just gonna, like, I think a good example was one of these prompts, right? Like there's a lot of different concepts in this image on the left, which meant that actually like it didn't really do any of them well in the end. So definitely between like 10 or 15. That being said, like if you use this structure, this is a good way of doing it. So you would talk you would mention what your product is, say where you want it to be, like on a table in a restaurant, or like, I don't know what, like in that example, yes, on a table
I
in a
think
restaurant.
now it's Q4. Maybe people want to have like,
Christmas.
graphics with like Christmas. Yeah, Christmas
I
stuff in the
will get onto
background.
that. I have
Oh,
some slides on this. Let me see. I'll get onto that. Yeah, so I'll get onto that. I'll get onto that stuff.
okay. So I will be patient.
Yeah, we've done some research on Christmas prompts. So I mean, I'm not going to go over this. People probably know it on this, like on Walmart, like they say it pays to be descriptive. Obviously, you want to have good images and listings. So we've done tests of like doing seasonal updates, and 80% of customers said they're more likely to purchase. And kind of tests we did were to create, literally, as you say, like AI generated seasonal images with Christmas trees, change the keywords, optimize the text, do some lifestyles of humans in them, and you're suddenly getting a much, much higher a listing that converts a lot higher. So what are these kind of seasonal prompts? These were all done on our tool. And yeah, like here's some kind of examples.
This is perfect. This is exactly what I had in mind.
So you just want, like, you want to keep it pretty simple, but as soon as you put in, and we've actually found this, as soon as you put in like Christmas decorations or like snow or something like this, like the AI, there's just a ton of training data on like what that looks like, right? From what these models have been trained on. So it's very, very good actually at kind of creating these beautiful images, to do with Christmas. And yeah, like here's some more seasonal prompts. So again, like we've tested all of these. So I'm not just kind of, I give my team, like, as I say, we have a lot of kind of intern students who do this kind of stuff in the company. And we tested hundreds of like images, right? And basically putting stuff like your product, whatever you're selling, like my plant pot, my bike, whatever it is, on a holiday decorated table beside a tree, blah blah blah, with child writing letters to Santa Claus. That one's probably going to be harder to do, but like you can get some good stuff. Boy and girl wearing hats, opening presents near your product. Like these kind of prompts are going to be very good at generating high quality images. So yeah, I think that's my presentation. We do have a 10% off offer, which you can scan on the QR code there, but the code is power10 from memory. Just power10 gives you 10% off at checkout. Hopefully a good tool for the Christmas updates. But yeah, that's...
Oh yeah, definitely. I think a lot of sellers, I still am amazed always to find listings that there is no lifestyle images in them, because I think you're missing so much, especially now that customers see beautiful images and videos everywhere. So you're really missing out. Like, I think it just doesn't look impressive anymore if you don't have beautiful images, especially to beat your competition. So very exciting. I love it. I love the examples. You just solved me exactly what I had in mind. Like, how do I create some images now for Christmas? So now I know exactly how and where. So thank you so much. So again, you guys can go check eCom Tent and use Power 10 to get 10% off. And we have one special winner. We have special prize for one winner. Max, you want to tell us a little bit about your prize?
So for one special winner, they will get a month free access to the tool. So a free month to try it out. So very exciting prize. Hopefully I look forward to seeing who gets that. And
yeah,
they do.
We will announce those names. So you guys stay tuned and stay in, come and continue watching the sessions and stay in the Facebook groups, and we will be announcing all the winners for all our amazing prizes. So Max, thank you so much. And we guys see you in the next session.
Bye.